This is Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Media and our sports show, back with another episode. Happy New Year, everyone. I can't believe it's already 2024. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. But before we introduce today's guests, fans, everybody knows about our Spreaker app on my phone where you can put your questions in as usual for today's guest. But before we get to that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for all the support over the years for this show, and we've been getting a lot of fans tuned into the show for a while now. So I just want to say shout out to everyone. But we are joined by Denard Span. He's a former MLB outfielder. What a great career, man! This guy brought intensity to the game. He brought speed. This is the type of player you want on a team, on a championship team, and he brought everything to the game of baseball. And what a great career. He played for the Twins, Nationals, Giants, Tampa Bay Rays. He played for the Mariners also, a whole bunch of teams. And we'll get to his journey, career, how he got into baseball, his family. And speaking of his family, they're doing big things off the field now. They have a big foundation. It's called the Denard Span Foundation. Everyone, please go follow that on Instagram, on all social media formats. We'll get to the foundation also on the show, and the MLB offseason so far. So we'll get his reaction on the offseason. But Denard, our team finally made this happen. Thank you for joining. How are you and your family doing? And Happy New Year to you and your family.
Happy New Year, Nathan. Yeah, me and my family, we're doing great, man. It's we had a good Christmas, and a good New Year. Very eventful at our house. We got three little ones,
Oh, wow.
age 6, 4, and 1 years old, and so it's never a dull moment. But yeah, man, I appreciate you reaching out and making this happen, and just happy to be here.
Hey, no problem, man, because we all love watching you play the game. And like I said, you brought the intensity. You're the type of player that a championship team needs. And you brought it out on the field every day. But before we get to your career, I want to just tell our fans about your overall reaction to this all season so far. It's been crazy one. And the Dodgers have been spending money. The Yankees are again spending money with the trades and all. But I just want to get your overall reaction real quick on the contracts that's being handed out.
I mean, it's hard not to start with the Shohei Ohtani and that contract. The way it was structured, was definitely unfamiliar, unorthodox. But you gotta like what he did. Allowing the team to be able to utilize some more money and bring over another guy from his homeland. I mean, obviously the Dodgers are going for it. They already, even if they don't add, those 2 to 3 guys with Tyler Glass now as well, they already were going to be the favorite. One of the favorites to reach the World Series and potentially win it. But with those 3 guys, it's kind of hard not to pick them. But the good thing about baseball is, even if you have it on paper, it still does not, translate over into a championship. So you still got to go out there and play the games. But what the Dodgers have done has been very impressive.
Yeah, so let's get into your career and how did Denard Span get into baseball? And who would you say you looked up to while growing up?
You know what? I started playing baseball as early as I can remember. I still, remember being 3 or 4 years old, playing wiffle ball in the driveway with my dad, and then my parents got divorced when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and then my mom signed me up for t-ball coach pitch at the age of 5, and that's really where it began as far as my baseball journey. And growing up here in Florida, we have good weather. So I played, other sports. I played football and basketball as well. And, I just kind of just stuck with it. And, as I got older, obviously I got better. And the other sports that I played, made me a better athlete. And, once I got to high school, I just excelled and I caught the attention of a lot of scouts with, my speed and my athletic ability and just my ability to put the bat on the ball and just play the game at a pretty good level.
Yeah, before we go any further, fans, put your questions in the speaker app on my phone. We'll take fans' questions also. We are live with former MLB outfielder Denard Span. Denard, can you talk about obviously you played multiple sports, but were you always set on baseball, or was there a chance maybe you could have maybe switched to another sport or play multiple sports still at the same time?
Believe it or not, I actually was not always set on baseball. I remember when I was sixth or seventh grade, I was really heavily into basketball.
Hmm.
And that there was one particular year where that spring I did not play baseball. I played AAU basketball. And I remember, having the time of my life playing that AAU travel basketball. But I remember the following year, when it came time for AAU basketball and baseball, I remember my mom, coming to me and telling me that, no, we're not skipping another year of baseball. I think that, she saw something in me that I, as a child, did not see. She saw the ability that I had on the baseball field. And so I remember being in middle school and that happening. And then once I got to high school, being in Florida, football is number one.
Yeah.
It's similar to Texas and California, where football takes precedent. And for me, like I really wanted to go to college and play college football. I'd grown up watching, Florida, Florida State, Miami, all of those, those top schools right in my home state. And so my dream was to play on Saturdays. And, I was, pretty good in football. I had a few scholarship offers. But in June of '02, when I got drafted, I was the first round, and it was evident to me that it was time for me to take on the challenge and fulfill my childhood dreams of becoming a professional athlete.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, you could have been a Bo Jackson type of player, baseball end.
Yeah, I would say more of a Deion Sanders as
But
far as speed. I didn't have the power.
Deion said,
I wasn't as big, but I was, good athlete, quick, speedster, fleet-footed, if you will. But yeah, if I'd have went to college, I definitely would have tried to play both baseball and football.
would you say Deion Sanders made a big impact in your life too as an athlete?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yes. I mean, watching him, play for the Cowboys and the 49ers. He was, the one of the most talented athletes that I remember watching as a kid, being able to, play it on both fields, and just the way he did it. Obviously, he was an entertainer, but he was just fun to watch. So I would say, yeah, another guy that's from Florida. But yeah, he definitely inspired me to want to be more than just a baseball player, more than just a football player. It was like, you know what? Why can't I do both? And so he was the guy that was more in my, I guess, childhood age bracket where I saw firsthand versus Bo Jackson. I was a little younger when that happened, but yeah, Deion for sure was an inspiration to me.
We do have a fan question here in my phone. One of our fans wants to know, what would you say some of your best moments were in your career?
Some of my best moments, I would say, 2008, just breaking into the big leagues, was a highlight of my career, highlight of my life. 2009, we ended up winning in the division. When I was with the Twins, we went to game 163 against the Detroit Tigers, and that still to this day was probably my favorite game of my career, just the back and forth. 2014, I was with the Washington Nationals. We had a really good season. We won the division there, ended up getting knocked out of the first round against the San Francisco Giants. But just all around, I feel like, everything clicked collectively as a team. And it was a fun ball club that I was on. So I would say, I don't know, I'm trying to keep it to where it was like team stuff.
Yeah.
So those 3 to 4 years were like, as a team collectively, I felt like they were special years.
Yeah, so we're big into family. I'm a big family person. Speaking of your mom, talk about your mom because she raised you as a single mom, and talk about how much of a big impact she's been in your life and helping you out in your athletic career, and just talk about your mom because I feel like she has an inspiring story too.
Yeah, she's where all of my inspiration comes from. All of my grit, all of my my work ethic, the way that I was resilient. It came from me as a child watching her have to take on the world solo by herself, having to raise me and my brother. I watched her go to work every day, when she was sick, when she didn't feel like it, because she could not rely, there was nobody else for her to rely upon. And so the things that, she instilled in me as far as discipline, hard work, that those are the things that helped me to, propel and to persevere during my career. I owe her, everything, my life, my career, everything that I've accomplished is because of the life lessons and the things that she instilled upon me. So that's my that's my forever lady, my best friend, somebody who I can confide in still to this day.
Yeah, talk about your tell our fans about your high school career. You won a state championship there in Tampa. So talk about that experience and what was that like winning a championship early in your career?
Yeah, that was another fun time of my baseball career, and that probably was when it was evident that it was time for me, or that not time, but that my future was gonna be in baseball. It was my junior year. We won the state championship. Up until that point, I was a good baseball player, but I had not gotten noticed yet by scouts, and it was at the state championship where I had a good tournament, and all the scouts were there. It's the Florida state championship, so it's a lot of good players there, and I performed well, and my team performed well, and we ended up winning the championship. And then from there, I started getting invited to all of these high profile showcases, and the rest was history from there. That summer, I went on a tear. I was locked in, and the beginning, I always like telling the story. The beginning of that summer, like nobody really knew who I was.
Mhm.
But by the end of the summer, I was the ninth best, prospect coming into my senior year, and so everything just aligned. It was from the man above, kind of, putting me, at that school. I transferred, to Tampa Catholic, which is the school we won the state championship. The right after the Christmas holiday, so it had been this time during my junior year, I had left one school and went to, a private school, and we ended up winning the state championship, and everything else from there just materialized.
Well, yeah, we have another fan question for you. One of our fans wants to know what was it like playing in the old Twin Stadium, the indoor stadium, and all before they moved to the outdoor stadium.
It was an experience. It was an experience. It was an older venue, but you got to look at it. I was coming from Rochester AAA, and for me, it was like, this is the big league. So, it was better than being in any AAA ballpark, but it had its challenges. We didn't have a weight room or a batting cage that was close to our locker room. We had to like walk around the whole stadium, underneath the concourse to get to a cage. We had one batting cage that we had to share with other team, and then we really had a makeshift weight room that was right outside of the cage. And so the amenities weren't great, but what I did love, that was the cons part of it. The pros, what I loved about it was I felt like it suited us as a ball club. We were a scrappy ball club in that in the Metrodome, and I feel like the Twins, the organization, did a good job with putting the right group of guys, suited for that stadium. And, there was a lot of base hits. That turf played hard, it played fast. And then also, too, I love that there was never any rain delays. I
Yeah,
could count on it, the game starting at 7 o'clock every
yeah.
night, and I would be home by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and, with no delays. So, interesting, place to play, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was fun.
Hey, that's the same thing like Tampa Bay Rays. You have the closed
Yep.
roof and no rain delays, and that's the
That's
best
true.
part about having a closed stadium. You can play anytime. But talk about the growth of you as a player from becoming from the player that you started from, and then going to the ninth best prospect before the draft. So talk about that growth as a player during that time.
Yeah, I think it just started with confidence, man, and just believing in myself. Like I knew that I had the capabilities. I just had not, been put in the right place, where the scouts or in the right arena for people to notice me. And like I said, after, winning the state championship, I ended up getting invited to, it was a junior USA trial, team. And it was there where I saw like the BJ Uptons, and Scott Cashmere's and Jeff Francoeurs and I think Zach Greinke was there, Jeremy Sowers was there, and all these guys were like, already ranked, from different states and, different parts of the country. And I just remember, showing up there and, not sure of if I was going to be able to play against these guys. But I think once we got there and, I seen that, they were, very similar to me. When you read about certain people or certain things, you tend to put more, more into maybe their ability or their talent. And once I saw them and I saw that, I could play on the same field as them, that gave me confidence. And from there, it just was no turning back.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, we have another fan question here. Here's an interesting one. One of our fans wants to know, how has Jackie Robinson made an impact on your life throughout your career, and obviously big in the baseball game. And they want to know, what was it like wearing the jersey number 42 on Jackie Robinson Day?
I mean, Jackie Robinson, without him, there would be, there would have been no me or a lot of other, Latin and, African American ball players. So he's a guy that, we owe a lot of, credit and, for the things that he had to go through and endure. So you got to, pay homage and give a huge shout out to him for going through that. You know what I mean? Like, it took a strong individual like him to be able to be the first and break that barrier. So I think, every Black player, every Latin player, any minority player, has to acknowledge him as, being the godfather of the game of baseball, I feel. Getting that opportunity to wear that number 42, was surreal. Every year I got the opportunity to wear it. It was one of my favorite days of the year to get that opportunity.
Mhm. Yeah, so talk about the draft experience. You got drafted by the Twins, 20th overall in 2002, and man, time flies, man. That's crazy. It's already 2024, and
Yeah.
you got drafted 2002. But talk about that draft experience, being with your family, waiting for your name to be called, and once you got the name called, and realizing that you finally made your dream. What was that like for you?
It was an emotional moment. At 18 years old, literally just graduating high school like a month before that or a few weeks before that. And all of a sudden now, being drafted in the first round and knowing that I'm about to embark on a journey that, I'd set upon since the age of 5. And, being able to share that with, my mom and my brother, people, those two people that had been with me my entire life. And just knowing that my life was changing. It was about to change. And I knew that I had to grow up. And so it was a memorable moment. I'll remember we were in our living room, our family room, and we shared a moment. The draft back then wasn't what it is now. It was not televised. It was literally, we watched it on our computer at home, and the names went, just fired off like literally within 5 seconds, like within 5 minutes, the first round was already named out. But just a special day, special moment. It was a memorable process, just going through that draft process, meeting with the teams and the scouts, and going to different workouts. As I look back on it, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and tell our fan another interest. I don't know if anybody asked you this before, but another interesting thing I found is you turned down the Rockies at one point, and they drafted Jeff
Yeah.
Francis. So talk about that process. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, still to this day, like I don't even know how that situation really played out. Leading up to the draft, before the draft, and this is a good question too, by the way. I can tell you did your homework. But leading up to the draft, the Colorado Rockies flew me up to Colorado to do a pre-draft workout just by myself. It was me, my brother came with me, and it was the area scout for the Colorado Rockies that lived around here in Tampa, and everything went well. After I left Colorado or Denver, I thought for sure they were going to draft me. And honestly, it came down to financials. It came down to money. At that time, there was not slot money, you know what I mean? But it was just kind of like, the market was whatever the guy got the year before at that certain pick, it's just standard. Hey, it's inflation. You want to try to get a little bit more than what that pick got. And so in '02, the Rockies had the ninth pick.
Mm.
The year before, if I'm not mistaken, the ninth pick got 2.3, 2.4-ish. I'm not 100% sure. And the Rockies, they didn't offer me more than that.
Well,
And so, we decided to turn it down. And, I don't know, how the conversations went behind closed doors, but as far as, the negotiations or anything like that, but we were trying to work out a pre-draft deal. It didn't work out. And they ended up getting their guy, Jeff Francis, and I slid all the way down to the 20th pick.
wow. But I guess it was worthwhile. I guess at the end of the day, you play with a great team in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
it
Um,
worked out.
yeah, you play with great teammates. And before we get to that, we have another fan question here. One of our fans wants to know who was the toughest pitcher you had to face in your career?
Man, I get asked that all the time, man. I
Yeah.
really do. And it's a tough question. It's tough to just say one guy because I face so many, so many good pitchers in my career. Um, I got to say with the late great Roy Halladay, from the right side, he had it all. He had a front door, back door, sinker, front door, back door cut. Like he could throw every single one of his pitches, front door, back door, up, down. It didn't matter. So he was a nightmare from the right side. And then yeah, Felix Hernandez, same thing. He was a guy that was tough to hit, especially when guys got in scoring position. Whenever he like really got dialed in, like he turned into a different pitcher. His split finger would break more once he got dialed in. Then you talk about David Price,
Yeah.
CC Sabathia from the left side. So it's just so hard to for me to just narrow it down to one guy. But those three or four guys, in my opinion, were the toughest.
Yeah, speaking of CC, Corey talked about CC yesterday on the show, and Corey said when they got CC in Milwaukee in '08, he changed that team in a heartbeat. And when
Yeah.
he signed with the Yankees in '09, man, he changed that team. He's like the LeBron effect. Whatever
Yeah.
team he goes to, he makes it better. Like CC's what a great I had the opportunity to meet him also. And
Mm-hmm.
what a great guy. He's doing big things now with the MLB and baseball and talk, this yeah, CC's like a true and plus he's a horse. He wanted to go every 9 innings, complete games, and this guy is amazing. Amazing
Yeah,
person.
yeah. I've spent limited time around him, never played with him, but I've had an opportunity to spend, like I said, at different events or things like that where I've been around him, and everything that you just mentioned, like I witnessed from afar. You know what I mean? And the few times I've been around him, it's 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 easy to see why he's had the success that he's had, not just on the field but just who he is off of the field.
Yeah.
He's easy to talk to. He's somebody that I don't know, just his personality and just his presence. He's the type of guy that if he's on your ball club, it's like, yeah, we're riding with you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're the leader, and he has your back. You've seen countless of times, when he's had to, stick up for his teammates and do things like that. And so, yeah, from my time, the times I spent around him, I wished I would have got an opportunity to play with him. And
Yeah.
there's a reason why he has had so much success while he played and while he's continuing that, in the commissioner's office and doing all of the big things that he's doing.
Yeah, so you made your major league debut April 6, 2008 for the Minnesota Twins. And talk about that debut. What do you remember about the debut?
Oh man, I remember showing up to the Metrodome, and it was like in the middle of the game. We were playing the Kansas City Royals. It was like the third or fourth inning. I showed up. I pull up to the dome in a taxi. I hurry up. I get go to the locker room. I change. Get my uniform on. Then I get on the bench and watch the whole game. And I did not get in that day. So after the game, I can't remember if we won or lost. I think we might have won, but so we're slapping hands like we normally do. And then all of a sudden our bench coach comes up to me while we're on the field and he goes, "You're playing tomorrow."
Hmm.
And he goes, "You're playing in right field tomorrow."
Oh
And
wow.
I'm like, I hadn't played right field since 11th grade.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, okay. And so he goes, take your jersey off and go get your glove. I'm about to hit you some fungo in right field right now. And
Wow.
so fans are still in the stadium, exiting the stadium. And this is like 10 minutes after the game just ended. And here I am in right field because we had the roof and it was a day game the next day, which when there's day games in the roof, it's tough, it's tough for the
Yeah.
to pick up the ball. And so but I just remember like, just all of a sudden I was already nervous about making my major league debut and being in the major leagues. But now here I am, less than 24 hours away. I'm gonna be playing in a position that I hadn't played in 6 years. So it was memorable. I was excited, but it was a lot of anxiety.
Wow. We have another fan question here. One of our fans wants to know your favorite. What was your pregame meal before a game?
Oh man, my pre-game meal. I mean, it kind of switched up. It honestly depended on how good I was going. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If I was like, if I was locked in, if I was, had a hitting streak or whatever, then I would eat the same. I would eat, the same thing. But a lot of times it was just a good old fashioned peanut butter and jelly. That's what we grew up on in the minor leagues, and a lot of times that was what it was. If that was always my go-to.
Yeah, so talk about your career with the Twins. You spent 4 years with that team, and yeah, you played with a lot of great players: Justin Morneau, Joe Mauer, Michael Kadire, Carlos Gomez. You had a great lineup. Nick Punto, underrated player.
Yeah.
Go down and you guys and Brandon Harris. I can go down the
Yeah.
list, but talk about that 4 year career with the Twins.
Yeah, we had a good run, man. We had a sneaky, good ball club. Obviously we had Justin Morneau and Joe Mauer. They were the superstar players, of our team, and they were the ones that got
M&M boys.
the Eminem boys. They got most of the publicity. But we had some other ballers on that team. A lot of those guys that you named that were like the glue pieces, of the ball club, and it allowed for the Eminem boys to do their thing. But I just feel like we were a pretty tight knit group. I think that's what made us special. Like off the field, like on the road, we would go to dinner and we would do things together. And it just was a fun time. We were the small market, low budget, Minnesota Twins going against, the Yankees and the White Sox and the Detroit Tigers that spent a lot of money. And so a lot of us, I felt like, we had something to prove. We were kind of, we felt like we were, not talked about, and we were kind of an afterthought in the league and the game of baseball. So, we always, I think, collectively had a chip on our shoulders, and I think that's what made us successful.
Yeah, and talk about the pitching staff you guys had, and we actually had a Wandering Cone on the show a couple years back, and
Yeah.
yeah, so
Well,
talk.
I didn't play with him though. I didn't. By the time I got to the major leagues, he had moved on. But when I was in the minor leagues, he was in the big leagues. So I didn't get a chance to play with him, but I spent time with him, and he was funny individual, good personality, always loose, kind of like the jokester from what I gathered. I spent time with him, in major league, big league camp and spring training. But yeah, he was always nice to me whenever he saw me. He never treated me like a rookie. He always, just treated me like I was a normal person.
Yeah, so talk about the pitching staff. Every pitcher you guys had on the roster, they brought different styles of pitching, and some of the pitchers are not overpowering, but they brought some different styles where you can fool the hitters. But talk about
Yeah.
the playing behind that pitching staff you guys had.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like most of our pitchers were not overpowering, but they had a lot of guts. They did a good job at throwing strikes and pounding the strike zone, throwing strike one, which was a lot of the philosophy of the Minnesota Twins. It was, just throw the ball down in the zone, get strike one, pitch to contact. We all were, that's the thing that we had was pitching and defense. So we had a good defense. So the philosophy was trust your defense. If you execute the pitch that you need to execute, you don't need to throw 98. And so, most of our pitchers were, 89 to 92, 93. But they knew they understood who they were as pitchers, and they knew how to execute, and they trusted us behind them to make plays.
Yeah, so talk about You signed a contract, a big contract, 5 year, or it was a 5 year deal, 16.5 million with the Twins. So talk about that deal and what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a surreal moment. At that time, I had been in the big leagues for a year and a half, and after spending almost 6 years in the minor leagues, and so I'd had some success my first 2 years in the league, and the Twins came to me and offered me a contract. I thought it was very flattering at the time, that they believed in me and trusted me with only me playing for 2 years at the big league level, and it was one of those things where it was either don't sign it and bet on yourself and continue to play it out, or secure this and don't have to worry about if you get hurt and don't have to worry about my personal stats or personal just accomplishments. And now I feel like after I signed that contract, I could just focus on, the team and playing baseball. And so, yeah, it was definitely a good time for me. And it definitely put my mind at ease as far as, from a financial standpoint, I could just go out there and play baseball.
Yeah, we have another fan question for you. One of our fans wants to know who was the funniest teammate that you played with?
The funniest teammate?
Yeah.
Uh, I gotta say Carlos Gomez. Carlos Gomez, that dude is he's funny, man. He's just, it's one of those guys that, when you play against him, you can't stand him, but he's one of the best teammates that I've ever had. He's funny, he keeps it light. He also on the flip side, like he's a straight shooter. He's gonna, you're never gonna have to guess what he's thinking, but he's one of those guys similar to like a CC, like he's gonna
Yeah.
ride for his teammates. And that's why you want him on your side. But I would say him, like he was always, just being, silly, being goofy, joking around, just being lighthearted. And I truly enjoyed, playing with him.
Yeah, so talk about tell our fans about that. How tough was it for you to leave Minnesota? You got traded to the Nationals, but you got to play with the young Bryce Harper,
Yeah.
who's a star right now with the Phillies. But talk
Yeah.
about talk about that trade and how tough was that for you and your family, and spending 4 years with one team, and now you got to adjust to another team.
Well, I really spent 10 years with Minnesota.
Okay,
You count the minor
yeah,
leagues, you
minor
count the
league.
minor leagues. I was, 5.5, 6 years there, and then, 4.5, 5 years in the major leagues with the Twins. So 10 years in total. So yeah, when I first, got the news of the trade, I was I was torn. I was torn because that was the organization that was the only team that I knew. That was the only organization that I knew. And so it was difficult. My first year in DC. It took some adjusting. It took some time, for me to, get used to my new teammates, getting used to just simply learning, the names of, the clubhouse people, the clubhouse attendants. And so it just was an adjustment. It was different words being spoke to me, but in a good way. But it just took time. And so yeah, year one, it was, yeah, it was an adjustment, but I think after year one, going into year two, that's why I mentioned 2014 earlier. That was when I feel like I got comfortable and the pieces kind of came together as far as me being a Washington National, and those 3 years in DC was they were a highlight of my career as well. I had a good time. We had some good ball clubs, some good players on that team, and it was definitely a highlight of my life.
And you played with Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, Danny Espinoza, who was
Yeah,
also on the show. We had Danny
yeah,
Espinoza. What a
yeah.
great guy he is.
Ian Desmond, Jason Worth, Jordan Zimmerman, Ryan Zimmerman,
Yeah.
Adam LaRoche. Like like we were talking about the Minnesota Twins, that team. The best lineup. That's tough though. I don't know, man. That's tough.
I,
That's tough. I was about to make a bold statement and say that the Washington Nationals lineup was better than the Minnesota Twins
oh,
lineup.
wow.
But in 2010, which was our first year in Target Field, our Twins lineup was pretty stacked. I'm not going to lie. But then when I look at what we had in DC, like we were pretty stacked there. Like you said, we had myself, Bryce Harper, Jason Worth, Ian Desmond, Anthony Rendon, Ryan Zimmerman. Did I say Bryce? I think I said Bryce Harper, but we had Wilson Ramos behind the plate.
Yep.
We had a stacked lineup with that team.
We have another fan question for you. What was it? What was your? They want to know your favorite food in DC.
Oh man, I don't think I have one. I really don't. I really don't. I tried Ben's Chili Bowl when I first got traded, and I went up there during the off season. I'm not much of a chili, fan, but everybody, I think on Twitter back then was like, you got to go try it out. I really can't recall how it was. So yeah, I can't speak on that.
Yeah, so after your Washington career, you signed with the Giants, a 3-year deal with the Giants, and what was that like going to the West Coast? San Francisco, obviously a lot of history. Willie
Yeah.
Mays played there, obviously, and let's talk about the San Francisco Giants team.
Yeah, that was, that was an adventure for me. First time being on the West Coast, in my life, and I'm an East Coast guy. I got an opportunity my first spring training to meet one of my childhood, idols and Willie Mays, and you got an opportunity to, spend some moments with him, and it was a fun time. I was there for 2 years. 2016 was a lot better than 2017. We ended up, making the playoffs in 2016, and we got upset by the Chicago Cubs, who ended up winning the championship that year. 2017 was a rough year. It just seemed like everything went wrong, and we were basically, I think, just about in last place. And but overall, like, it was a fun experience. I got an opportunity to play with some good players.
Yeah.
Got an opportunity to play for a Hall of Fame manager, Bruce Bochy.
Yep.
And like you said, just get an opportunity really as a kid, to play in that stadium, watching Barry Bonds hit all those home runs in the McCovey Cove, and just being a part of that legacy and that history. It was a good time for me.
Speaking of Bruce Bochy, man, what a manager he is, man. Like
Yeah.
he took Texas from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
And did you reach out to him after the Texas won the World Series this year or last season?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I saw him during the season though. We spoke in the season.
Okay.
When Texas came here to play the Rays, him and I spoke, and I wasn't surprised that he came in and changed that entire ball club and that team, just with the type of influence that he has, and just the type of comfort that he brings in the locker room. He's one of those guys that he just the types of speeches, and when he opens his mouth, like he has the ability to motivate and move mountains with his words. And so Texas Rangers obviously had the talent. They had went and got some good players the last few years, and he just was able to get those guys all on the same page, all on one accord, and believing in themselves. And and that was just the result of the difference between a good manager coming in and helping that team get over that hump and that pinnacle.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure, in my
No
opinion.
doubt, no doubt. It's that four World Series in this generation, in this not this decade, but yeah, he's for sure a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, so we spoke about Jackie Robinson earlier and also Barry Bonds, a big impact in baseball. But I want to talk to you about Willie Mays. How special was it for you to wear the same uniform as him and also play the same position as him?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was one of those things where it was surreal. I got an opportunity even like to go to his house,
Hmm.
spring training. I'm not sure if he owned the house or if he was renting or whatever, but just getting an opportunity to go to his house, and he signed a jersey for me. And just like you said, just getting that opportunity to play the same position and kind of just carry the torch that he started, obviously many years ago, and just being part of that legacy. And just he just being around him. He was very coherent. He was very lighthearted. He, of course, he gave me a lot of crap, about my power and the lack thereof, about me hitting home runs and hitting more home runs and stuff like that. But yeah, it just was a joy and a treat to get an opportunity to spend time with him.
We have another fan question here. One of our fans wants to know, um, what was it like when you hit your first major league home run?
I was juiced. I was pumped. It was off Mark Burley.
Oh wow.
early in the Metrodome. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a special moment for me. Obviously the first hit special, but I remember hitting that home run and just just being pumped up going around the bases.
Yeah, so the next this must have been extra special for you going to Tampa Bay playing for the Rays. You were born in Tampa and you basically you were raised in Tampa, Florida your whole life. So how special was it to come back, play for the Rays and having your family in attendance too?
It was a dream come true. It was something that had always crossed my mind when I was playing, during the years. But it was, it just felt like it was just a far-fetched dream. The business of baseball, most guys don't get an opportunity to play in the city from which they were born or where they were raised. And so, like I said, it was just a thought that like crossed my mind. Like every time I came to Tampa to play the Rays as an opponent, it always, it was a great feeling to look in the stands and see all of my high school buddies and my mom, my brother, and just my extended family. And so, my last year when it came into fruition, it was just like a full circle moment. Just coming back to where I was from, where it all started, and get an opportunity to play 20 minutes from my house, and my mom, being there at every game, and it was a treat to end my career.
I mean, you guys, whenever you guys play the Yankees, for some reason, you guys had the Yankees numbers pretty much every year. And then, playing in Tampa is kind of tough for opposing teams. And just talk about what was it like playing in the AL East, facing the Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, Blue Jays.
Yeah, you knew every game that you played, in the division that it was going to be a tough matchup. There was no weak teams at all. And I think the mindset of the Rays has always been similar to what it was when we were in Minnesota. It was like, look, we have nothing to lose. We're playing with house money. They don't respect us. So, we're gonna go out here and play aggressive and push the envelope and make them make mistakes, right? And just come in there with a fearless mindset. And I think it takes a special ball player, in order to do that. And I think like the Rays, I think they do a good job at building a ball club and taking players that other teams overlook and putting them in good positions to be successful.
Yeah, you play with Blake Snell. So talk about what was it like playing with Blake Snell. He's currently a free agent. A lot
Yeah.
of teams are in him, and I think the
Yeah.
Yankees are interested in him. But talk about Blake Snell, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Where do you think he'll go?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not good with that. I really don't. I'm not good at that question right there. But just as far as I can speak on him as an individual, I believe it was his first full season in 2018, where I played with him, and you're just talking about a guy that is always prepared, always ready to pitch, and you just saw the talent. It was easy to see, tall, athletic lefty throwing 97, 98 mile an hour with movement, with a devastating slider. But for me, it was just his makeup, him as a human being. Just you can just tell his parents did a good job at raising him, and just was just a good young man. You know what I'm saying? And all of the success that he's had since I played with him, I'm not surprised at all. I saw, the star potential in him back then, and he is, put himself in a really good position to land a pretty lucrative deal.
Yeah, and he won two Cy Young awards already
Yeah,
in San Diego and Tampa. Um,
yeah.
so talk. I'm just curious. Is it kind of weird to see some of your former teammates still playing in the league?
Um, if they're like my age, yes.
Yeah.
And there's not too many position players that like, that are still playing that are, my age, 39. I'm about to be 40. There's a handful of pitchers that are still playing, Scherzer and Verlanders, and I think Greinke might come back and play again. I think Michael Brantley, he's a little younger than me, but I played against him in his early days with the Cleveland Indians. He's done a really good job at turning into the ball player that he is today. He's always been a pure hitter. But I mean, sometimes when you cut on the TV, yeah, it is a little, I guess it's a little weird, but that's sports, that's life, and some people have longer careers than others, and sometimes you can't put your finger on it, but everybody has their own path, and if anything, it's enjoyable to watch those guys. At this age, I know how my body feels right now. I really, I don't know how they're still able to go out there. And a lot of those guys that I named, like they're still, playing at a pretty high level, high clip. So, I love it.
Yeah, so we have another fan question for you. They want to know your favorite college football team, NFL team, NBA team.
Okay, let's start off with favorite college football team. I would say Florida State.
Mhm.
Florida State's my favorite football team. NFL team, I'm here in Tampa, so I got to go. I got to rock with the Bucks, even though they're frustrating to watch at times. And then NBA team, I'm a LeBron fan, so wherever he goes, that's where I take my talents as well. He can go with him. And then what else did you say? Is that I
Yeah,
hit them
that
all?
was yeah, they
Okay.
wanted yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a Lakers fan then. I'm a Lakers fan.
Speaking of
5 years ago, I was a Cleveland fan, but now I'm a Lakers fan.
taking my talents to South Beach.
Exactly.
But no, but talk speaking of Florida State, everybody knows what's going on with that school, and it was kind of hard to see him. They got snubbed, but next or
Yeah.
this year they're expanding to 12 teams.
Yeah.
This year, so finally it's happening. But talk about how tough was that to see Florida State having a great year all season and getting snubbed from the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought that was unfortunate. I can see both sides of it, but I still, even with their quarterback being hurt and them kind of limping at the end of the season, you still can make a case for why they deserve to be one of those four teams. They're undefeated. They had some good wins earlier in the season, and if anything, I think that it was even more impressive that what they were able to do those last 2 to 3 games without their star quarterback. Playing with their third string quarterback and still being able to go out there and beat Florida, which is a rivalry. That's a high leverage game, and then win the ACC championship. I thought that made to me that quantify that that's how good they were. They were able to win,
Yeah,
win, big games with their third string quarterback. And so just it's unfortunate, whenever you're talking about only four teams make it, and how many D1 schools are there? So somebody's going to get snubbed. And guess what? There's 12 teams next year. Somebody's going to get snubbed next year as well. The 13th, 14th teams are going to feel like they deserve to be in it. So it's tough when you're talking about college, football. That's the only reason why I think NCAA basketball works is
oh
because
yeah,
it's 64 teams. Obviously you probably can't do that in football, but there's the best team at the end of that wins. Everybody gets an opportunity. 64 teams, but with 12 teams, it's obviously it'll be better, but
yeah.
somebody gets snubbed even in that as well.
Yeah, so now tell our fans, I want to talk about your family foundation, the Denard Span Foundation. I feel like I've been following the foundation for a while, and we're part of a foundation ourselves. So it's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach, but now he's coaching at Grambling State University. We're trying to prevent human trafficking. But
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to your foundation, I like what you guys do, you and your wife and your family. I think you guys go back to ballparks, right? Sometimes different stadiums and do
Yeah.
some work there. So talk about how did you guys get this started? And what's it been like for you guys to have the foundation for the community?
Yeah, what you mentioned there, it's a program that we've had really since I started when I was with the Nationals.
Mhm,
It was called Span Fans,
mhm.
and so like every month I would invite a mom, a single mother, and her children, and bring them to the ballpark, let them come out and watch batting practice. Get them autographs from me and some of my teammates, and then afterwards, after batting practice, I would share my testimony, spend time with them and try to encourage them. And that's something that, I've continued even after retirement. And that's just, one part of, our foundation, just giving, these families and these kids, a first class experience, hopefully inspiring them to, see themselves on this field or a big stage somewhere else one day. So that's one aspect of it. But my foundation is centered around, single parents, which is, what I grew up in. That's the situation that I grew up in. And so, once again, we just try to, encourage these families. Our main program with the foundation is helping, these families from Habitats for Humanity, RBI Baseball, get brand new transportation. They have to go through a process, make sure, they have all of the qualifications. And then my foundation, we come in and, bless these families with a brand new car.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's, a lot of people think that, oh, we're just giving a car. It's not that. We're putting down a really nice down payment, getting the payments down low for them to be able to afford. So it's still accountability on their end. They still have to, do the work, but we're just, stepping in and, lending them a helping hand, if you will.
Wow, that's amazing. And let me know if you guys need help with the foundation. We can help out too, and vice versa. I'll send you the our foundation with Hugh Jackson, and yeah, we've been helping him for the last 3 years now, and you guys do a great job with your foundation. Speaking of family, going back to family, what has it? You a lot of family support is big in the sports world, and what's been it like for you to have your wife behind your back from day one throughout your career, and supporting you when you guys are traveling on the road trip. So talk about that. Have your wife support.
Yeah, my wife support. I mean, her herself, she is an athlete or was an athlete. So we got married towards the end of my career. I met her towards the end of my career. But from day one when we met, we instantly clicked because of us having that background. She was a professional hockey player.
Oh,
She was an Olympian in 2014 at the Sochi Winter Olympics. And so, when we first met, she understood my, lifestyle, my schedule, just everything that I, needed, from a physical, emotional standpoint in order to be my best player as a professional athlete. And just having her encouragement, support, holding down, the family when I was on the road, it meant everything, for me, just knowing that, when I came home, everything was taken care of. And she was, just there with me over, those last 2 to 3 years of my career.
hey, we got to get her on this show then too.
Well, you might need to, man. She's definitely more
Woman in
entertaining than
sports,
me. What's that?
women in sports, man. Ooh.
Yes,
Women,
yes.
like
She's not your average woman.
we support women in sports, and I have 14 people underneath my company, and five of them are female. So we try to give them every opportunity in the sports industry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll take one more fan question here. One of our fans wants to know, would you consider being a bench coach if the right opportunity presents itself, or a hitting coach?
I would never say never. I would never say never. It had to be the right situation, right timing. Where I'm at in my life now, my family's number one, family's first. I have three little ones at the house, so it's kind of hard. It'd be hard for me to step into that role today. But 5 years from now, 4 or 5 years, 6 years from now, I could see, me being more open to it once my kids are a little older. But once again, even like if the right situation came next year or now, like I would still entertain it because
Okay.
you just never know. But that'd be something that I would be interested in for sure.
Hmm. So a couple more things here before we let you go. We had Johnny Damon on the show also a couple years back, and him and his wife are in the Florida area. Have you guys done work with them in the Florida area? The Johnny Damon.
No, I have no. I ran into him for the first time in years last off season. It was at a charity event. So yeah, I mean we're in Florida together, but he's like more in the Orlando area. It's not that far away, but you just don't. I just don't see him on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. So what are your so Juan, obviously you played with Nationals, but Juan Soto didn't come till later. But Juan Soto played with what are the Yankees getting in Juan Soto for this year?
I mean, you're getting a player that can do it all. I mean, defensively, hits for power, hits for average. You talking about, especially in that ballpark, like that's going to be scary. I would be surprised if he doesn't get at least 40 home runs. I said at least 40 home runs in that stadium if he can stay healthy. He's going to be motivated to play. His platform free agent year. His last couple years in San Diego has not been, what he's used to putting up. So I think the Yankees are getting, Juan Soto at the right time. I wouldn't. He might be a front runner for AL MVP. I'll be honest with you.
Oof. Wow. Yeah, so two more things here. What do you like the new rules that are coming in now with the pitch clock and everything, and the bases and all, and talk about that. And also, do you like what the Dodgers are doing, spending all this money and bringing all the players? I mean, they're like the super team now, but the problem is they don't know they don't win the world. I mean, they don't have to finish right now. But just talk about, do you like the way they're spending, and also the new rules?
The Dodgers remind me of the Yankees of
Yeah.
the late '90s, early mid 2000s, where every offseason they were getting the best players. And that's why I said, even though the Yankees had all the best players, they didn't win the World Series every year. Obviously they were in the thick of it, so you still have to play the games. But I do think it's good for baseball, to have a team that that does that. At least one team that goes all in, and they have all of the or not all of the, but a good majority of the marquee names. So yeah, I don't mind it. I like it. I think it makes the game more interesting to watch, and yeah, it just makes it fun to see how things are going to play out. And then as far as the new rules, yeah, I think they were a hit last year. I really do. Obviously the shot clock had sped the game up. Kept the action flowing. The other rules, honestly, I wish I was still playing. You're talking about no shift.
Yeah.
There's more holes, more singles, more hits, and then the pitcher's not being able to pick over three times like that. Both of those rules would have played perfect.
Yep.
And into I might have played another 2 or 3 years if those rules would have come into place. But yeah, I think the rules have helped the game get a little bit more faster paced, a little bit more exciting. There's more action. And I think that's what the fans need. This generation of fans are younger. They're used to having things right away, and just things coming a little bit faster. So I think MLB did a good job with those rules implementation.
Yeah. And there you have it. Former MLB outfielder Denard Span joining the show today. And thank you to our fans for tuning in and asking great questions to Denard. And Denard, I just want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your story on this platform. And Happy New Year to you and your wife, your family. And let me know if you guys need help with your foundation, where we can help you guys out. And I'll send you the other foundation that we're part of. But thank you again. And thank you to our team for making this happen. And keep up the great work, and we'll stay connected.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Nathan, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what new things and great heights that you accomplish, man. And keep doing it. You're doing an unbelievable job. And anytime you need me, man, I will be here. So
Thank you.
I appreciate the time,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
sir.